I read chapters 1 and 2 of the book Flow from Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and his goal is to tap into the idea of when do people feel most happy. And so he kind of tracks this down and looks at all the obstacles that happen to it. And he starts with this idea that in order to overcome anxieties and depressions, individuals must become independent and no longer respond to rewards and punishment. Those are ideas and some direct quotations there from page 16, which is a clear connection to the first book that we read from Alfie Kohn, that we need to put away punishments and rewards and start doing things for the sake of doing them. That's exactly his next point that he continues to make. To achieve this, we must learn to provide rewards to oneself. We must find the enjoyment and purpose regardless of external circumstances. So his solution for kind of tapping into that is gradually become free of the societal rewards and substitute them for the rewards that are under our own powers. Those are words that are coming from page 19. We can't easily find happiness, and a lot of people think that this should be something that's automatic given the time period that we're in, that we should have been able to tap into it and it should be easy at this point, and he points out why that's not possible. Number one, this requires wisdom and not just the acquiring of facts. And number two, the times change, so how people applied this concept in the past to achieve this state of flow, we're just working and kind of the time melts away. The times change and the pressures change and the societal norms change. So all those things make it difficult to tap into this over and over again. So how can we do this? He starts by chapter 2 moving into we have to understand the consciousness and how does that work. Most people don't try to understand the consciousness, and most people don't try to tap into this idea of flow work. That's challenging and allows us just to completely be absorbed by the work, because in their free time, most people sit in front of their TV, and this was written originally in 1990. I think you can substitute in front of their phone for a lot of that. And that immediately made me think of our students with their passion projects. When we offer them the opportunity to dive into something that they want to do, there's two factors that kind of work against that. Number two, a lot of the time, number one, a lot of the time, teachers kind of hold the cards and control everything, and so they haven't been able to do their deep diving on their own. And number two, they spend a lot of their time doing things that might not be challenging in the same way that we would hope, sitting in front of the TV, or perhaps relying on technology. Some of them do play video games, and there is a challenge there, but it's just makes me wonder, is that something that can be tapped into and extended to other things? And I would say I don't know for sure on the answer there. He talks about kind of like this difference between flow, the ideal state, where all the psychic energy just flows effortlessly. We're able to block everything out, and this idea of psychic entropy, and he gives a few examples from people that they're disrupted, they're threatened, they're challenged, and they can't focus on the work at hand, and because of that, their work is stunted. And so you're kind of looking at those two ends of the spectrum, and he's talking about how do we get into the flow as much as we can. One of these ideas is how do we organize our consciousness to experience flow as often as possible. When that happens, the quality of life inevitably is going to improve. During flow, everything in the brain and kind of body all works together. It's everything like a highly sensitive machine. Things are communicating back and forth, blocking other things out, and even after that's done, that quote there is from 41, the person feels more together because they got their engine to hum. They were able to operate at such a high level that even after that they feel this incredible sense of togetherness. So the more often that you're able to tap in to do that, the more complex yourself becomes. And when we act freely without the sake of outside actions, boom, we become greater than we thought we were previously. And there's this huge growth that happens with flow. There's this huge enjoyment that happens with flow. And so we pick a goal, we work, and we find that enjoyable, and kind of all of those external things we're able to block out. But it's like one of these things where the more you do it, the easier it is to tap into it. and the less you do it, the harder it is to kind of break through that wall of understanding that this is where your mind is going to go. I looked at a few examples for me of it not happening for me. It doesn't happen, you know, this idea of tapping into the flow where you're able to lock out distractions and just be in there. It doesn't happen for me when I do a spin class. It doesn't happen for me when I'm out golfing, and it never happened for me in high school when I was in math class. But I did tap into it when I was writing my research report for the Action Research Project. I spent one night up till 12:30 just because like time just evaporated. I really enjoyed the work, and I was tapped in without disruptions from my kids were already in bed, and boom, I could lock out 3.5 hours of work without really getting up from the seat. Same thing happened a few weeks ago. My wife and kids were out of town for the night, and I did Ancestry.com work for 3.5 hours again without really getting up out of the seat. If I'm doing woodworking, that's possible as long as I don't get frustrated. And my first experience really with this was I took an art class my junior year in high school, and the period was over, and I just felt like it happened in just a second. As an educator, I'm really interested in trying to tap into that as much as possible, specifically through the passion projects. And I see this happening. One class in particular that I see is our robotics class, where the kids come in even before school starts so they can just go and just work. Why? Because that work that they're doing just puts them in the flow, and time just melts away, and it's just enjoyable. So I want to try and figure out and use the ideas that are in here to tap into that. And I'll put my citation here on the screen, hopefully, maybe, and that's it. All right, thanks.